Hi, I'm John Stewart, Chief Investment Officer of Farmers Trust Company. This is the Investor's Edge.
The Investor's Edge, Market Insights with John Stewart, is brought to you by Farmers Trust Company.
Hi, I'm John Stewart. Welcome to the Investor's Edge. First up, the week in review. Is a recession on the way? Well, calls for a recession have reached a fevered pitch here in recent days, with many economic forecasters now saying that the chance of having one in the next 12 months is roughly 50%. Now, the definition of a recession is 2 consecutive quarters of negative real GDP growth. In other words, a 6-month or longer period in which total economic output shrinks net of inflation. Now, the economy actually shrank 1.7% during the first quarter of this year. And it is certainly possible that the current quarter, which ends next week, could fall on the wrong side of zero as well. So we may actually already be in a recession according to the technical definition. Now, whether or not we have a recession based on that accepted definition is really kind of inconsequential from an investment perspective. For one thing, it usually makes sense to be buying stocks in the middle of a recession, not selling them. So if you wait until the recession ends, you likely will have missed out on substantial upside in the markets, as markets tend to recover far ahead of the economy. Just think of what happened during COVID. More important is the question of whether things are going to get worse before they get better. That's especially when it comes to corporate earnings. Now, the jury is still out, obviously, on that question, but the risk could be to the downside, at least in the near term. For this week's featured insight, risk is not always what it seems. Well, most investors attempt to avoid risk. This makes complete sense, as risk implies the potential loss of capital. Nevertheless, risk is not always a straightforward concept. Some of the investment opportunities that seem to be the most risky may in fact have much less risk than meets the eye. That's because investments that are broadly perceived as risky by the investing public tend to trade for deeply discounted prices. And buying at an attractive price is the single biggest determinant of investing returns. On the other side of the equation, investments perceived to carry little risk, or that investors feel a strong degree of comfort in owning, may actually be the most risky. Think about it. Stocks that everyone loves and think can do no wrong tend to trade at very high prices, and there's nothing riskier than paying too much for an investment. Look no further than many of the market darlings of the last several years. Some of the most popular and well-regarded companies like Amazon and other technology giants have been the hardest hit stocks so far this year. They simply became too expensive, and expensive is risky. Looking ahead, closing out the second quarter. Well, next Friday will bring the second quarter of 2022 to a close, and along with it, one of the worst first halves to a calendar year in financial market history. Now, large institutions, many exchange-traded funds, and retirement portfolios usually rebalance their holdings at the end of each quarter. Now, this tends to create some extra volatility in the closing days of each quarter. And given the elevated volatility we've all been experiencing so far this year, next week could provide plenty of extra whipsaw for investors. Now, what makes this rebalancing opportunity, or should I say lack of opportunity, unique is that both stocks and bonds have lost value this year, making it very challenging to sell outperforming assets, because there aren't many, while purchasing underperforming assets. Now, on the whole, bonds have outperformed stocks, so the rebalancing could provide some flows out of fixed income and into equities, which may provide the conditions for a little bit of a near-term lift for stock prices. It'll certainly come as a welcome reprieve if it happens. Once again, I'm John Stewart. Thank you for watching The Investor's Edge.
The Investor's Edge, Market Insights with John Stewart, is brought to you by Farmers Trust Company.